Hello and welcome to another fun-filled nonsense retrospective, the last of the year. This time we are looking back on the year in retrospective indeed, and all the retrospectives that we've done. I'm your host as always, Rick, and joining me equally as always is Devon.
Hello there. I just want to point out, I don't think... Oh yeah, it is, because next Monday's Christmas. It is the last retro of the year. Fuck-a-doodle dandy.
It is. We only planned for the weeks that we're going to do. We're not going to do next week or the week after. So yes, normally we start with the hypotheticals, but we're talking about hypotheticals all the time today, as long as other things. And on that note, we're going to open our award show with the best hypothetical, favourite hypothetical that you gave. What was yours?
My favourite one came from the number 78 of the retrospective, the Ninty Smash Pass number 3. That question was, you get to voice a guest character in the context of a video game. What do you pick? And I think we had some really fun answers for that.
Okay. Man, I can't even remember what we picked.
I picked like a guest unit in a Fire Emblem-esque game. Yours was a bit more convoluted because I had to narrow down the question in such a way just to make sure you didn't pick like I want to be the secondary protagonist. But that's the nature of these questions. The person giving the question knows the exact context they want, and they don't necessarily give it on the first shot. So I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Man, I can see myself also being a Link kind of character where you don't actually give any words, it's just grunts.
What a waste of the talented voice actor out of the two of us.
Talented in inverted commas, yeah.
I mean, I would absolutely argue, out of the two of us, Rick, you are definitely the most talented when it comes to voice acting. That's not me blowing smoke up your ass. I'm just shit.
It's just because I can do more than two voices.
But anyway, as you were about to lead into, Rick, what was the favourite question you gave?
My favourite one I gave you, is because we were both excited to chat about it, was the Dragon Age one, where I just asked what you would expand on in the then unnamed Dreadwolf. This was on the heels of Dragon Age Absolution, which came out as the last thing of 2022, and our retrospective was on the entire Dragon Age Absolution show in the beginning of 2023.
Does it not depress you just a little bit to realise we're a year on from that and still don't know fuck all about that game? We don't know a predicted release date, we don't know anything apart from the fact that Stolas is definitely the villain.
Yeah, all we know is that Solas is doing something.
Oh, I fucked that up. I said the sexy bird demon from Haluva Boss. I meant the bald elf bastard.
Yes. I know exactly what you mean, and I'm using the bitch wife's mispronunciation as a comedic timing thing as well. So lass. Yeah, I thought it was a great amount of energy between the two of us at the time, and it was a great way to like basically kick off the year. Because we were both hyped for it. Number 2 is favourite hypothetical that you received.
Yes, mine was in a similar range of the previous one, retrospective number 75, She-Ra Horde Focus. You asked me, ghosts suddenly exist, who would you most want to be haunted by? This question in and of itself wasn't the most, unique question, but I found it funny that I answered immediately. And to this day, I don't know why the fuck I said Anne Boleyn.
Yeah.
I was just struck by it, and there must have been something magical about the question.
Yeah. Plus, it would be kind of funny to just like hear oldie-timey English and have to translate it every time.
Yeah, but I think we're going to have the same discussion, Rick, because I think I even said this back then, and that was she was French, so it wasn't even oldie English.
Oh, yeah.
But yes...
everyone posh was French, weren't they? Yeah.
More or less. But yeah, what about you? What was your favourite question to receive?
My favourite one that I received was Tabletop Pokemon, and that I would make it into the Paldea Academy version of Strength of Thousands, and like you did the Iron Ball thing. Oh shit, that would have been better.
Oh.
Oh, it was great because we'd pretty much not long since started our version of that thing as a tabletop campaign. Me DMing for the first time in like 7-8 years. Yeah, man, that's been a long time.
I mean, the last time I was consciously aware of you DMing was my first ever foray into proper D&D. I played tabletop games before, but not D&D.
Yeah. I think I was essentially a lot of people's first DM in our group. I think Garrett had played before quite a bit, but for the rest of the players, like I was essentially the first one. So I got a few free passes on how shit of a DM that I was, and hopefully I'm a bit better now after having learned a few things.
I think the only flaw you had during our first campaign, and this is only after playing and DMing myself other campaigns, is your pacing for combat encounters was fucked, and that's about the only criticism I had.
Yeah, my other criticism that I had of myself is that I said yes to a lot of things.
Yeah, I don't know how much of a clusterfuck that was. I can only speak.
It was awful.
I could only speak on a personal level where I was like, I'm going to play a necromancer bard. Bard has access to necromancy spells. I'm just going to pick from the spells that a bard has that are necromancy flavored. And then you went, don't do that, and gave me a list of spells to say, use these. And I was like,
Yep. The next one. Which episode led you to binging the series that you enjoyed the most?
I forgot to write down the episode name and title and number, but who am I kidding? It was Laserhawk.
Yep, ditto, absolutely. It was Captain Laserhawk. It's the one that we both enjoyed the most, and I don't know if we're going to do a retrospective on it in the weeks coming, but we might do.
A big old maybe.
Yes.
It's a bit removed from my mind now, and let's be honest, the first episode was fun. Second episode onwards, as good as the show was fucking depressing.
Oh, yes. Like, in terms of a retrospective, all I can do is quote the neutral guys. All I know is my gut says maybe.
Tell my wife I said hello. Still think that's one of the
Captain
best lines.
Laserhawk from both of us, yeah. Yes, one of the best lines from Futurama. So, next one, the favourite live-action show that we reviewed.
There's going to be no surprise here in that I'm biased as fuck. I'm speaking of review episode number 136. That line got vaded, and that was Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got the same answer with the qualifiers of no shade on Last of the Summer Wine or Stranger Things or even Mads Mikkelsen's Hannibal, but Silence of the Lambs is like the most iconic thing that we've done this year.
Like
it's just great that I've been able to actually watch the whole thing in one go, because apparently I have seen most of that film in bits. But seeing it in bits is the worst thing to do, because you don't get the continuity of the story. There's no gravitas of the ending when you've not been through the beginning and the middle.
Absolutely, man. And again, the reason why I say I'm biased is if you watch that episode, all I'm doing is throwing behind the scenes and other information at Rick during the film, because I love that movie. It's my favourite horror movie. It's my second favourite horror movie of all time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very quickly to say, our pool for this question was very small and limited this year, because when I read this question back, I was like, feels like we haven't watched much live action things. And I went back and looked. We've only had 13 episodes this year that were live action.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, that's still a quarter of them.
That is not a quarter of 52. It's just over a fifth. I'm just saying, it's nowhere near the 50-50 margin that we used to aim for.
Sure. Well, I think it's exactly a quarter, because 13 times 2 is 26, times 2 is 52.
Okay.
But yeah, next one is fave animation that we reviewed.
Oh, this one was fucking piss. It was review episode number 123, The Definition of Metal, aka Nimona.
Yep. The number of things that we just got, dittos on all these. Nimona is also my favourite animation that we reviewed. It was just, oh man, just a chef's kiss. Chef's kiss.
It was an awesome story. There's no debating that fact. The animation was charming. It was different, for sure. It's definitely not your bog standard, but it worked, and I loved it.
Yeah. And it's also interesting that it's slightly different to the original as well.
Yeah,
certain things go down differently. So even if you've read the original, there are differences to kind of go enjoy and experience.
Yeah, you straight up said that the antagonist of the comics is the guy who ends up with our main character.
Yeah, Golden Loin.
Yeah. It's been a minute. I can't remember names. I can't even remember the main dude's name. I just remember Nimona because they're the best part of that show.
Yeah, Ballister Blackheart, and I forget his first name, but Golden Loin.
Is it Golden Loin?
It was meant to be Golden Lion, but he misspelled it when he put his name down for the first time, so he had to stick with Golden Loin.
Oh, okay, sure.
Yep. Favorite news story?
I had to listen to a lot of these back recently, and my favourite story came from you, Rick, which was revealing to me the existence of the disgusting company known as the Order of Yoni.
Oh, yes. So that became one of our shorts that you isolated as well. It was such a weird thing, man.
I remember it distinctly, mostly because it really made me laugh how you just went, I believe you could still buy a jar of her farts, so that's fun. And it just cut to me going, is it fun? Really? Is it?
Yeah. When I say so that's fun, it's normally in the... I'm trying to evoke the intonation of when David Mitchell went, that's fun, I think that's funny.
Wow.
Yeah.
But yeah, how about you? Do you have a favourite news story?
It's a little bit less fun. I've just put when Rolf Harris died, fuck him.
Oh, wow, that's interesting because we cut that from the episode.
Okay.
Yeah,
we cut that. Okay.
We mentioned it, and then I believe someone else actually passed during that week, and you went, oh, by the way, Ralph Harris died, and we both went, fuck him, and then moved on, and it was such a footnote, we just cut it.
Yeah. Man, what a thing to cut. Yeah, I don't mind having cut it. And yeah, one less pedo in the world. Fantastic. Favorite thing that you did this year?
I've had a very uneventful year, so unfortunately it's just me binging a TV show, and that was when I watched What We Do in the Shadows, the TV series. It was a good show. I highly recommend it. 5th season came out this year, so that happy coincidence.
Yeah, good shit. Well, for me, I was a little bit more wholesome on these. Of the top 3, the only one that doesn't involve you guys is when I went to America. The other 2 are the Sabaton concert and the Sonic concert week. But from the Sonic concert week, I zoomed in on the one thing, which was just sat around the table playing Villainous with you guys.
That was a good game, and I don't think we even spoke about it during that podcast.
No, we didn't even. It's a good game. 2 good games, actually. There's problems with the Star Wars ones if you play Ventress and you play it wrong, but you don't know that you're playing it wrong until you have played it wrong.
But there's also playing it right is actually still difficult, because I thought the gimmick for that character was literally you have cards that let you play encounters on yourself, but it doesn't. You have to have another player attack you, and if the player you're against knows that you need encounters to win, they're not going to encounter you.
Do you remember the quest mechanic that character had?
Oh, right, yeah, the one where you're not supposed to have 4 active at a time.
Yeah, so they managed to find the only quest that doesn't let you fate yourself and put a character into play.
Oh, well
Every
done.
other quest puts a character into play that you can then go and kill.
Fair enough, then.
So yeah, that's how that character is meant to be played. But yeah, the other characters generally felt very flavorful towards themselves. And yeah, I'd be excited to do more of that with other people, with you guys again, with different decks, with different expansions. Just in general, more of it. Villainous was fun.
By the way, that reminds me, your Star Wars Villainous is still apparently at our friend's house.
Yes, it is. I left it behind. Best hypothetical question. I don't have one for this because we talk about hypos. Well, we talked about hypos at the beginning, and I thought that basically we'd covered that, and I thought that this was basically a typo on the list. So I have not covered this.
Yeah. So what I did with these questions is I did just copy most of them from last year's review retro, and we made a distinction between favourite questions and best question. So it's one of those. The best question I got written down is from Retro 106, Baldur's Gate 3 Act 2, and it was add a romantic escapade to a non-romanceable character in Baldur's Gate. The reason why I voted this as best is I'm definitely going to use this question again when we talk about video games.
Yeah. It's a generally pretty good question, I guess. It's more or less one of the things that's a mark of a good game when you wish you could do more with certain characters. Mm-hmm. When it just gets your brain juices going, yeah? You know?
Yeah. Like, the only game that has had romance in it it that has been implemented poorly is probably Andromeda.
Yeah.
None of those romances feel natural or good.
No. Apart from PB's, because that feels like about as natural as that character feels at any point.
I feel like people who go with PB are people who are just like speed running nudity content.
Yeah, sex percent. It's like Lae'zel is the current sex percent target in Baldur's Gate, and the way you do it is you play as a red dragonborn, because that gets you more affinity for everything that you do with her.
I suppose that makes sense, because everybody else, even Gale, as horny as he is, doesn't get a sex scene until you beat the goblins.
Yeah, and it's because Githyanki ride red dragons, so yeah, she's got an affinity for riding red dragonborn men.
I can't tell if you're being serious or just making a joke.
It is actually true. It's because they ride red dragons that she is coded to have additional bonuses for Dragonborn and additional bonuses on top for them being red.
Fair enough. That's weird. That's like the fucking orcs where red ones go faster.
Yeah. Except for Lae'zel, it's red ones come faster. So, your best after dark.
You've skipped a bunch, or have you just rearranged them?
Oh yes, I have skipped one. Yeah. So the best Nonstop review.
Oh, I've written these the wrong way round. I've answered the non-stop one with my best nonsense. Hang on. My best non-stop review was episode 95, A Single Pale Rose, aka Series 5, episode 18.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the most impactful episodes of the entire season, and indeed the series at large.
Yeah, I really appreciated this episode. It was a great reveal. It had the right amount of gravitas behind it. Despite already knowing the big twist, I can imagine it was a real shocker for about half the audience at the time. And honestly, there's only a handful of episodes that can really hold a candle to this, so I'm really curious to hear your answer.
Yeah, so for me, my opening statement for myself is, would it be cheating to say the movie? And yeah, I think it would. My actual one is going to be Reunited, which is the Ruby and Sapphire wedding, which is the end of a little arc of this old Ruby Rider and things like that, where Ruby is unsure and Sapphire is very definitely sure, and she needs Ruby to figure things out for herself. And yeah, it's a very good two-parter, and it's also on the heels of Bismuth being reintroduced.
Yeah, and you get a rather epic clash to end the episode as well. I distinctly remember both of us marking out over the line of it was supposed to be my day, with when Garnet was blocking like Yellow's fist or something.
Yeah. Best nonsense retrospective.
Episode 94, top 5 3DS games. I have a soft spot for the top 5 lists, which is very good considering what we have to do later on today. But I find in particular the top 5 3DS games was just fun to write about. Remember fun 3DS games. And it was interesting hearing your top 5, because I think we had like 2, we definitely had 1 that was the same. It might have been 2. It's been a minute, but I think we both put Awakening on there.
Yeah, I think we did, yeah. I think that was the only Fire Emblem that made it for me, because I didn't buy Fates.
Oh, I didn't fucking put Fates on my list.
No, like, it didn't deserve it, that's why.
But yeah, how about you?
Oh, sorry. 3 incomplete games, yeah. It was 3 incomplete games. Why would you put any of them on there? Okay.
I'm really sick of that argument, because they weren't incomplete. Like, people who say that didn't finish the games, and that's why they felt incomplete. I understand the argument to a certain degree, but like Nintendo and specifically the Fire Emblem studio set out to make 3 games when they started, which means they were, by definition, complete. They had a start, middle, and end. The endings were unsatisfying. I'm not going to fucking argue that, but they were endings.
Yeah.
But anyway, sorry, my apologies. What about you?
My favourite retrospective was the one that we talked about at the beginning of this episode. It was the Dragon Age Absolution one, because again, it was just fun to talk about Dragon Age again for a while.
Yeah, it was interesting because both of us have different, not vastly different opinions, but different opinions on Dragon Age in general. And we saw some interesting point of views clashes between us when it came to specifically the Templar Blood Mage conflict. Yeah.
Because I've always been like pro-mage, despite the fact that we've been shown a lot of evidence of mages being shits.
Well, that's just it, isn't it? Because this is why I say we're clashing, but we're not clashing by much, because I do lean more towards the mages because they deserve freedom. However, every single time they've been given freedom, they immediately resort to blood magic. And I think the problem there isn't actually in-universe. I think it's the writing is bad.
Oh, yeah, totally. I think the only people that don't resort to blood magic are player characters. And even then, half the time you can make them do it anyway.
Like, if you play a mage Grey Warden, it would be, like, it's super in character for a Grey Warden to just instantly resort to blood magic, because all they care, they are a 1-issue issue company, and that is get rid of the Darkspawn at all costs.
Yeah. Power at any price, and you have basically carte blanche to do as many crimes as you like, as long as you don't bring the entire order down with you.
Like, for real. Like, even joining the Grey Wardens is kind of blood magic if you think about it.
Yeah, they just don't advertise it. Like, literally blood magic. They mix Grey Warden blood with Archdemon blood and Darkspawn blood. But yes, that one's that. The best After Dark.
Retrospective number 84, aka After Dark number 8, Fantasy Fighter number 2. Why Fantasy Fighter number 2? Because I think we picked better selected options there. A lot of our Fighter number 1 options were bland. So, granted, we spoke about it beforehand, but our first picks for that were, I'll pick one from Has Been Hotel. No, scrap that, reverse it. I pick one from Haluva Boss, you pick one from Has Been Hotel. And it was just like, there was no surprises who we picked for those.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Like, the characters that got picked, some of them were surprising, some of them were not. So my pick was Not Safe for Work Fighter 1, because it set the stage like that. I think it got the creative juices flowing the best, because we had to pick the backbone, you know what I mean?
Absolutely, I get you. I also want to give, special credit, because it has led us to... it's weird, isn't it? Because the fighter thing came out of... Well, we've done Smash Brothers 3 times, let's try and do something different. So it kind of spawned from that. But spawning from this specific fighter idea, we got the Star Wars spin-off as well out of it. So, there's fucking mileage in this idea, even if people don't like listening to it.
Yeah, and the Star Wars one, we didn't even have, Darth Maul or Palpatine at all, did we? It was just...
That's not true.
It was
you picked Palpatine as your last pick, because you said he had to be in.
Oh, yeah, I picked Palpy, yeah.
I think for the Star Wars one, we specifically tried to pick non-major characters, mostly. Obviously, there's some that got thrown in there. You definitely picked one version of Luke, but I forget which one.
Yeah, I think it was, trainee Luke when he's, on Dagobah, and just Empire Strikes Back Luke in his flight suit and all that. Yeah. So, the best moment. So, I misinterpreted this slightly. So, the moments are specifically meant to be the shorts, and I misinterpreted this as a single moment that I could pick from the universe that I just remember and it stuck out in my head. So, what would be your actual best moment?
It was the third or fourth official one we did, and that was the Inglorious Everest, specifically because I was just bitching about Everest and tourists being shits, and then you were like, have you heard the Brian Blessed Pooh story? And I was like, no, and then you regaled me with it, and I went, that's fucking hilarious. Despite you getting it wrong, which you told me, about 10 minutes after we recorded, you sent me the footage, and you were like, I told the story completely wrong, but it's still funny. And it was still funny, because I left it in.
Yeah. So, yeah, he wasn't telling the story about himself at the time, but still most of the words were the same of, I must have a shit.
And the funniest thing is, looking at the comments of that story's also incorrect, because it wasn't the wind blew it back up, it's another guy they were with saw the poo land near them, and he picked it up and put it in the guy's hood because he thought it'd be funny.
Oh boy. Yeah, so the one that I don't know whether it was this year or last year is the time that I laughed just by describing the bear whipping himself in the balls.
I don't remember that being on air.
And for things that are definitely this year, it was when I sent the elephants up the Andes. Which ended up being the part of the episode title for the Hannibal, one of the Hannibals.
Oh yeah. That's the one. Yeah.
Yeah, I sent the elephants up the Andes instead of the Alps in my retelling of of the sacking of Rome. Yeah. Oh boy. So we get to the best nonsense review.
Yeah, we've got a year of episodes to look back on, and I had to and ah for a few minutes while deciding. All the way back near the beginning of the year, we did the video game month, and I generally think the most entertaining nonsense review to listen back to was episode 97. I didn't know her name was Big Bertha. I was taking the piss, aka the Super Mario Bros. Movie 1993.
Yeah, that was Because we weren't taking it seriously and because we were able to riff off it, I believe that was one of the better just experiences in general. Like, we weren't expecting high cinema because we knew it was shit, and then it was less shit than we were expecting to a degree.
Well, it's this weird thing because I went into it knowing quite a few behind the scenes details, including the one where the director was a couple and they'd recently been rejected for their own script, and what they did is they took that script and made it look Mario-ish, which I brought it up time and time again during the film, and that was, this movie is good if it didn't have the Mario association. If none of this was Mario themed, it would actually be a decent movie, and I bet you it would be looked upon with love as opposed to scorn. Yeah, it'd be like one of your any old Christmas movies from 20, 30, 40 years ago that just are competent. Like, there's ideas there, and it's solid, and again, the fact that fucking John Leguizamo was drunk 95% of the time, and you can see that he's fucking drunk.
Yeah, there's very little light behind those eyes in quite a lot of those scenes.
Oh, jeez. Yeah. So weird, that guy's career. Anyway, I'm going to get sidetracked. Rick, what do you think gets the honour of Best Nonsense Review for 2023?
Well, it's one that I've also mentioned already. It's Nimona. We loved it. It was an absolute mic drop of the entire year. I think it was just not only the best animation, but I think we were just so high on it that I think it deserves the title of Best Review of the year.
I do distinctly remember starting the episode with, we're doing the Mona, and yes, we're sorry, we just missed out on June because it only came out today. Fuck you.
And now we get into our honourable mentions. Most pleasantly surprised. Guess what? I'm going to be saying Moon Girl.
We've got honourable mentions before Most Pleasantly Surprised, if you want to do them first.
I must have them out of order.
You do it in your order then, that's fine. Are we doing Most Pleasantly Surprised?
Yeah, I thought honourable mentions was the title of like everything that comes afterwards.
Oh no, honourable mentions was just honourable mentions for the Best Nonsense Review, Best Retrospective, etc.
Oh man, I super fucked this one up then. Yeah, I've not got anything for this.
Okay, well,
but yeah, what would be your honourable mentions for this year?
Again, right, basically when we started the year, we did a fun thing called BritCon Month, which we're probably going to do again next year, if not at the same time, but we might do, because it was just fun watching old British classics, but with insight from someone who I know has seen them before. It was stuff we could watch without watching, apart from the Last Summer Wine one, where we had a bunch of fuck-ups while recording, and also someone yelled at us in the comments.
Oh yeah, someone yelled at us, okay, we had a lot of views on that because people were expecting it to be the episode.
It's our highest.
Yeah, we got yelled at in the comments.
It's our highest viewed episode. It's over 3,000, maybe nearly 4 now.
Oh, cheese and biscuit, man. Yeah, we got yelled in the comment for saying the fuck word.
No, well, okay, a little bit. What they said was, in future, you should research the institution that you're reviewing and also use less colourful language. And it's like, that's the premise of the fucking show. We swear because we swear without thinking about it. We don't get paid for this shit. We don't care. And we do, okay, sometimes we do a bit of research because we want to know more than fuck all, but the premise for BritCon Month was specifically, we've seen most of this shit before, let's see how it holds up. Let's see, like, I've never seen the first episode of Foggy being introduced, and honestly it was a bit of a shit one as far as Last of Summer Wine's concerned.
Yeah, it was an establishing episode rather than a comedy one.
Yeah. I don't want to say I'm still annoyed a year after the fact, but I'm still a little bit annoyed a year after the fact, because the way they typed, they were clearly a 60-year-old man that's just bitter at life.
Yeah, absolutely. The kind of people that you're surprised have a YouTube account.
Oh, I don't know. Fuck, they could have just been a well-spoken teenager, but I don't know why they'd give a... Here's the thing, alright, and this is... I promise I'll drop it after this. Have more respect for the institution. And it's like, it's Last of the Summer Wine, bro.
Yeah. Man, I'm reminded of a Matt Groening cartoon where it was a fake magazine cover, and the magazine was entitled Young Codger.
Wow, okay.
I'm just imagining that if it was like an under 60, that yeah, they would just be a young codger version.
But yeah, as we established, you don't have any honourable mentions, so let's get to the next award.
Yes, most pleasantly surprised, and I spoiled it already. Mine is Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur. I wasn't expecting it to be crap, but it just had so much more soul and style than I was expecting. I kind of intended to go back and watch it, but I ended up not doing yet.
Yeah.
But, it's on the rainy day list.
Yeah, the fucking ever-growing one you never use. Anyway, yeah, I get what you're saying with Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur, because while it wasn't my favourite thing by any stretch, I loved the not wild, but different shit they were doing with the animation. They were really experimental with it.
Yeah, absolutely. So how about you? What was your most pleasantly surprised?
Yeah, it was actually quite recent. It was episode number 145 of the review. Minnie is just here because of BDSM, aka Mickey Saves Christmas. I wasn't expecting that to be good, and it was fun.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting it to be stop motion at all. As soon as it started playing and we saw that it wasn't just... Because I think my statement was, looking at the screenshot in the beginning, it looks like a shit post. And then we actually saw it in motion, and it was way more charming.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah. So next, most anticipated and let down.
Nonsense Review, episode number 122. There was no comeuppance, aka Gamera vs. Virus, aka one of the legit funniest moments on the podcast is where I went, I regret watching this, and you just said with the most enthusiasm I've ever heard, happy birthday, and I was just like, oh. Yeah. Man, I've also picked that. My statement is, I wasn't expecting gold, but we were so defeated. Well, the one we watched last year was fucking awesome. Well, not awesome, but like miles better.
Yeah, because the fights were better. Because with Viras isn't much of a fighter. He's just there to just have the villains.
Rick, there was a 15-minute scene in the middle of the film that was just compilations of other fight scenes from other Gamera films.
Yeah. Remember when Gamera was good? Here, have some of those. Oh, Jesus. The biggest stumbling block.
Rick, Fox in Space was impossible to edit with how long it was and how little time I had to actually manage it. So I just gave it the retro treatment. So,
sure.
Yeah, that was the biggest stumbling block. That's what I would go back and change. I'm not gonna now, but, hey-ho, it's a thing. We don't bring up such things on air, but it happens sometimes.
Yeah, my one is even worse than that. It's one that ended up not even getting released. It was the one where we're even more defeated than Gamera vs. Viras, and it was when we were trying to review the Hannibal movie. Yeah. Oh boy.
Yeah. I'm gonna try and get us a workaround so we can somehow watch those films at some point, but we definitely aren't gonna make a month of it. This is how much of a month we were gonna make out of just doing Hannibal stuff. We had the 5 weeks planned. The whole reason why our Halloween logo has us both in Hannibal Lecter masks is because that's what we were gonna do for the month.
Yeah. And I even researched. I gave you the Mads Mikkelsen Hannibal mask, and I got the classic one because I'm older.
Even though the classic Hannibal one is way better.
Well, the other thing is, I know you love Mads Mikkelsen as well, so
I do.
I gave you that one.
I think I said once on the podcast where I would love to meet Mads Mikkelsen, get a picture or an autograph, at a convention, not on the street. That'd be weird. But
yeah.
Even in the convention setting, I'd be nervous to do that because I wouldn't want to seem like a fucking weirdo.
Aw. Yeah, that was the one episode where I was so defeated, and it was all the technical part of it, and yeah, we got through the first half of it, and it wasn't even the good half of the movie. There was some decent monologues, but they were only monologues.
If you want to hear how defeated Rick and I are, just go watch the Castlevania episode where we sound fucking miserable and straight up say, if we sound fucking miserable, it's because we've been recording for about an hour and a half, and now we're watching Castlevania.
Yeah, and it wasn't until about halfway through that we actually picked up, which is a shame because all of that episode was cool, and yeah. So the next one is formats that have been disappointing. So this was a question from last year, and I don't think we've actually dropped... Well, I think we dropped everything that was disappointing last year. I don't think there's anything that we really need to drop from this year.
Yeah, funny enough, my answer to this was, have we even tried anything new? Because I don't think we have.
Yeah,
I suppose technically After Dark is new, but we enjoy After Dark.
Yeah, we do. And the only thing that's close is the themed months, and I think those are a decent enough concept.
And also, we've been doing those for 2 years now.
Yeah, we have. It's one of the first things that we did when we started tying things together.
Yeah, the very first year we did an unofficial Halloween month. Like, everything was Halloween themed. We didn't say that was the month. We just did it. We also did a similar thing with Christmas the first year.
Yeah. Before we just made it into a general thing with this episode at the end.
Absolutely, yeah. You can really see how the podcast has evolved.
Yeah. The next one is The Stinker.
Rick, The Stinker for me this year was review number 142. You've got to give me more than that, aka A Fox in Space.
Man, what a shame, because there was a lot of talent in that.
If you say so, there's multiple things wrong with this. First of all, it doesn't help that I was fucking annoyed with the episode anyway because of the behind-the-scenes issues. That's not the show's fault, but it is what it is. The second thing is, going into it, I didn't actually know what I was going into. I suggested doing it because I thought you were fucking in it, and you said like 2 minutes into the podcast, I'm not in this one, I'm in the next one, that's 45 minutes long. We can watch that one after, and I went, I'm not doing that.
Yep.
And then you've got the fact that it was short, the animation was good, the voice direction was fine until you told me that certain behind the scenes things of like how long it took you to do 2 lines, and I'm like, that sounds shit.
No, not really, because that's how long it takes a lot of voice artists to do like that amount of content. Like they take quite a lot of time to get things exactly perfect, and sometimes that means they have to chop and change things.
If you say so, man. This is just my view on things. And honestly, the biggest kicker of all is the fact that it's based on Star Fox, which I don't give a fuck about. And it turns out, if you don't care about Star Fox, this show is not good.
Fair.
Like, I'm not having a go. I'm not having a go at the voices. I'm not having a go at the animation. Both of those were fine, if not great. But like, if you don't care about Star Fox, the only thing I know about Star Fox comes from Smash Bros. And this animation I watched.
Sure. And yeah, the story in this is like vastly diverged from the canon story. It's just, it takes some cues.
Well, sure, but a lot of the jokes are joking on things that you assumedly would already know about the characters.
Yeah, sure. For me, my stinker was Pac-Man, and my note here is it was Hanna-Barbera. They can make good cartoons, and I've even put ooh in my note.
I see. You see, Pac-Man was not a good cartoon by any means. I think you and I have different definitions of stinker, because I was more about the episode reproduced being bad rather than the episode we watched being bad. But
okay, yeah.
I get what you're saying, because I can see that's where you're coming from, because Pac-Man was not a good watch, but boy did we come up with some funny shit while watching that.
Yeah, is this becoming Vor month? And then we get into the hypotheticals. So, the show you most want to review.
This first answer stings, Rick, because we're not going to be able to review it because you're going to Australia.
Ah, yes. Has been Hotel.
Yeah.
When it comes out, yeah.
Yeah. Like, literally, you fly to Australia the day before it comes out.
Yep.
What we might be able to do as a workaround, because we're going to watch Has Been Hotel, you know it, the audience should know it. What we could do is we could either, 1, just relegate it to a retro, or 2, watch the final together. Sure,
yeah, we could do that. Or both.
I don't know if I want to do both, but yeah, I guess, I don't know. It's a bridge we'll burn when we get to it. Has Been Hotel is the show I most want to review. What about you?
Mine is another Amazon one, and it's Invincible, but it won't happen since we both kind of want to have the experience of watching it ourselves.
I mean, I'll straight up say it, Rick. This won't happen because of me, because I just want to watch Invincible for me.
Sure.
I'll take the L on that.
Next one is the movie that you most want to review.
Oh, this one was easy for me. I want to review Godzilla Final Wars.
Okay.
There's a couple of reasons for this, but first of all, I've never seen it. Second of all, it is one of the most audience-dividing movies I've ever fucking seen, because the people who hate it fucking hate it, the people who love it fucking love it, because essentially the plot is either too ridiculous even for Godzilla, or the plot is the coolest thing ever because it's dumb and stupid, and who cares about the plot? Godzilla fights everyone. But yeah, I've never seen it. I kind of want to see for myself. And also, like, you know, I keep trying to push you to watch more kaiju movies.
Yeah. Yeah, fair enough. I'm going to soft approve that one. The one that I've picked is Predator, because I still haven't seen it despite my however many years. And I kind of want to see how much I already know via osmosis.
Man, I'm kind of curious on that. I mean, I like Predator. I think Predator is a more fun franchise than Alien, but of course it is. Alien's fucking depressing.
Yeah. I think the only Predator movie that I've seen on a technicality is the first Alien vs. Predator Predator movie.
I don't know why that film gets so much shit.
Like, it's fine, but it's nowhere near as good as Prometheus, which, like, I think Prometheus is the best Alien movie after Alien 1.
I don't know about Prometheus. I think Prometheus is the one I skipped because it looked awful.
Sure.
Is Prometheus the one where they got the weird human alien type thing? One, I don't know.
Kind of. Basically, it's one where you don't know that it's alien until the end.
Okay, cool. No, I've not seen that one, and I've not heard good things about it.
Yeah, like, I liked it because you didn't know that it was alien.
Okay.
And, like, it's the thing that I say about Bloodborne all the time. I think what makes Bloodborne more interesting and slightly more scary is that nothing is just codified as, oh, this is a vampire, this is a werewolf. You just have to accept these beasts as they are. You don't know their power sets or anything. They don't have names. You can't just rely on your knowledge as a player.
I guess.
Yes.
You and I can argue about that philosophy until we're blue in the face, because that sounds like gobbledygook.
Sure.
But as you were willing to soft approve Godzilla Final Wars, I'm fucking super erect to approve Predator.
Sure. So, we have 2 fantasy guests. The first one is someone who is deceased.
I thought about this for a minute. I originally was going to say Terry Pratchett, and then I was like, I'm pretty sure Rick gave that as his answer last year.
It's the kind of thing that I would say.
So I swerved slightly and changed it to Harlan Ellison.
Okay.
He's a writer of one of my favourite short stories, I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream.
Oh, man, yeah. Okay.
A horrifying little short story, but it's very well written, and it's a good read. It's even better if you listen to Harlan Ellison fucking narrate it. Yeah.
It's so iconic that it became a trope.
Okay. You know what I'm like with your trope talk, Rick. He also wrote some Star Trek episodes, and I think he wrote for Stargate at one point. But fuck all that. He had an interview once, or he's been quoted as saying this, whether or not he did or not is another question, where they wanted some interviews from Harlan Ellison to put on the extra features on a DVD of either Stargate or Star Trek, which he wrote for. And he went, okay, how much are you going to pay me? And they said, oh, it'll be good exposure. And it's Harlan fucking Ellison, so he just went, okay, then no.
Yeah.
Fucking pay me.
Yeah.
I can understand why some smaller artists can get quite easily swayed for the exposure talk, especially if it's like a thing on an international DVD. But it was fucking Harlan Ellison, someone who had already won numerous awards for writing. It's like, no, fuck you, pay me.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, I don't know what I'd get him to watch with us. And I can imagine him being a bit of a cynical fuck, but oh well. What about you, Rick? Who is your fantasy deceased guest?
Well, I put Robin Williams, but I might have said him last year. but like you say, Terry Pratchett seems like the kind of guy that I would pick, so I'm sticking with Robin Williams for now. And it just seems like he would be an absolute joy to be around.
Do you know what the worst thing about this, Rick, is that we could have checked, and we just chose not to.
Yeah, we did, yep. I was up most of last night, like, picking some of these answers, mostly because I couldn't sleep. And, Robin Williams was the one that first came to me. The backup answer is George Carlin, which is a similar answer.
Fuck me, you're really doing me you're doing me a fuck up, you are, because all 3 of these answers sound like things you said before, but only one of them can be. Yeah, only one can be true.
Like, I think a lot of them are things that I have said to different hypothetical questions, like you get a necromancer's dinner party, and like, who are your guests? Like, yeah, those are the kind of people that I would bring to one of those.
Well, the funny thing is, Rick, I do have a better memory than you. It's just a fact.
Yes.
I know that I once told you get tickets to any fantasy show, and you chose George Carlin for that.
Sure. That sounds like the kind of thing that I would do. But yes, next one is a fantasy guest of someone still technically possible.
Yeah, so this one was a bit easier, shall we say, in that last year I remember I didn't pick a VTuber because I thought you were going to pick a VTuber and you didn't. So this year I've picked a VTuber. It was very hard to pick one. I originally wanted to go for Callie, I really did, and then I thought, no, if I could have anyone on the show, it'd actually be Iron Mouse.
Yeah, she's a real good pick, especially since she's basically got Digital Creator of the Year at the Game Awards.
Yeah, but she she does a lot of content considering, behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah, considering her situation, she does way more work than anyone in that situation would be expected to do.
But yeah, I'd love to have her watch. So I don't know what I'd get her to watch is the problem, but I kind of don't think I'd care.
Yeah, absolutely. Man, I'm just reminded of, she watched her stream from last Christmas, and she's singing the Last Christmas song, and after the first 2 lines, when she gives you her heart, and then the next day she gives it away, she just goes, "Fuck you," and then when she's rewatching it, she just cracks out laughing, go, "I don't remember this at all." She was heavily medicated for that stream.
Damn. Okay, fair enough, man. But yeah, just honourable mention to Callie in the sense that one of the reasons why I was considering Callie is because when she watched Shrek is kind of what influenced the way we do our video.
Yeah, the way that you've now put the timestamp up, the running total time.
I've always done the running total time.
Yeah.
Even when we tried to show the clips, but we'll get to that later, I suppose. What about you, Rick?
Absolutely.
Who's your guest who is still alive? Oh, sorry, someone we could, in theory, book if we ever got big enough.
Well, Bill Bailey is my current frontrunner, and it's for similar reasons to the deceased the deceased ones, in that he's one of the most on board with nerd shit. In fact, I think the only one who's more on board with nerd shit is Dara O'Brien, and like both of them are good picks.
I'd argue, like, if you were going for nerd shit, I'd honestly put Simon Pegg into the ring as well.
Sure.
But yeah, I'd love to fucking have a chat with Bill Bailey. It's one of those things where we do these fantasy booking type things where it's like, yeah, we'd have them on the show, and it's like, what would you get them to watch? And it's like, I haven't thought about that, I just want to talk to them.
Yep. Don't know, don't care, just want to have like fireside chat with a cool guy. The next one is Steven Universe Future will be coming to an end this year. What series do we want to replace the Nonstop review with?
I had to actually think about this one, Rick, because last year I had a different answer entirely. Last year I put down Pokemon because it would be interesting to go watch Pokemon from start to, maybe not finish, but at least the Kanto region, just to be like, I wonder if this holds up, because it probably doesn't.
True.
This time I've gone with, let's try and pick something that's 10 minutes long, so therefore it sticks with a similar time frame. And let's also pick something that reverses the script a little bit. Let's pick something I've watched that I know Rick hasn't.
Yes.
So I picked Regular Show.
Alright, that's a good one.
That's what I would want to replace it with. There are a few problems with this. It's 9 seasons long.
That's fine.
Is it fine? I think that might outlive the podcast.
Maybe so. I mean, with Nonstop, we kind of made the executive decision to skip season 1, apart from a few cherry picks, and we only picked it up after the season 1 finale. I too have got the caveat of one that you've seen that I haven't.
Oh.
So on that, I said Gravity Falls, which I know you've seen to halfway.
I've seen half of season 1. I've not even seen half of it, so...
Yeah, like, I think that's a good pick. There's only 2 seasons and then it ends. My B-side for if I actually ended up picking this last year is that I would be down for rewatching Star Versus, but again, that's the original script of I've seen this all, you haven't. And at least early on is a little bit lol random before they actually start with the like persistent storylines.
Sure.
And then we get into Without Any Limitations, including being absolved of all editing responsibilities, what change would you make to the podcast?
Okay, Rick, I automatically disqualified the VTuber thing because we both said that as our answers last year. I hope you haven't answered it like that this year.
No.
Okay, so legally...
I've got a different word.
So legally speaking, it's a bit murky, but back when we first started, I did try adding the actual video of the thing we were reviewing to go along with what we were saying. I very quickly scrapped that because, 1, we don't own it, and 2, certain companies are on your ass like fire. Like, Hasbro doesn't like it. I still argue to this day, and I've said this like 5 different times on the channel, that I made that My Little Pony footage unwatchable in the sense that you can't just watch it and get the information. It was just there as a visual guide to go with the dialogue. I made it small, I flipped it, I made it grayscale, and obviously there was no sound for it. Yeah,
I too have got this as my answer. It's just in one word, and it's just written there as piracy.
That's just it.
Like,
okay, I will admit, Rick, I do have a bit of a fucking bone stuck in my teeth with this one because I had a friend say, why don't you do this? And it's like, well, this is why.
Yeah, it's the number one suggestion that we get from people who want us to succeed. It's just basically, why don't you become pirates and facilitate piracy? Well, the reason is because of legality piracy, and yeah, like even if we never get big, I would rather, keep our noses mostly clean,
Like, I can't stress this enough. I don't care if people still pirate shit. I really don't, because a lot of the times they pirate it because a lot of studios are being stupid shits when it comes to streaming, I really don't care. You can do what you want. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but I don't really give a shit. I don't care what you do. It's your life. I don't want to do it. Or rather, I don't want to do it on behalf of my fucking YouTube channel. Sorry.
Yeah.
Our fucking YouTube channel. I don't want to get all of our shit scrubbed because I downloaded a fucking movie and put that movie on my video.
Man, and the worst part is it will probably be part of the soundtrack that comes after you because record labels are fucked.
It won't be soundtrack. Again, every time I've done this, it was just footage. I didn't use audio.
Yeah. But like other people that do it, like last year we said VTuber avatars, and if we had them, then that would be technically defensible as transformative if we had both of our faces there. But like the reason Hololive don't do it is because they know it can be fought against, whereas other people will just watch shit.
I mean,
just have their faces in the corners.
I mean, Twitch has a whole fucking subcategory that is called Watch Along. I don't know if they changed that, but they used to have something called Watch Along, and it was just people playing movies 24/7.
Yeah, Kick, which is the Twitch competitor, which is also back-end hosted by Amazon, by the way. They do have a category that's still like watch-alongs and just straight-up piracy.
I'm going to just going to cut you off very momentarily and apologise. I don't think it was Twitch. I think it was Kick, and I got confused. Okay,
yeah. It's they just have a category of just piracy, and it's not called that, but that's what it's for. And yeah, it's just people watching shit, playing shit, just rebroadcasting copyrighted stuff. The same way that you get on those like dodgy apps from like the mid 2000s where you could just have channels that are just rebroadcasted. Yeah, man.
Does anyone remember Napster?
Yeah. Oh, man. And LimeWire and Kazaa.
Fucking hell. Kazaa is... it's one of those weird ones where you trust one of those websites more than others because it gave you a virus that was more subtle so you didn't realise it.
Yes. Sometimes the virus was the launcher. Man, I remember on Kazaa, like the big one, I knew that Kazaa had made it when they made the gag on Yu-Gi-Oh! Abridged. I downloaded it from Kazaa. But yeah, my answer is also piracy. And the last one, before like my little tangent, is we've already done the snack review and attempted live streaming. Is there any other format that we want to attempt?
There's a few things I'd like to try, don't get me wrong. We kind of implemented shorts to a certain degree. We don't do shorts by YouTube's definition, we do it by our definition, which is we take clips and we isolate them. They're in their own playlist on YouTube. Go check them out. If you're listening via the audio platform, then you got to wait until the end of year.
Check them out on YouTube.
You could check them out on YouTube, that's true. But yeah, the one I've gone for is a bit more mundane, I think. Rick, I collect Digimon cards. You sort of collect Magic the Gathering. Perhaps an opening stream between the pair of us. I don't really understand the formula or the concept. I don't really get it, but I'd be willing to give it a go.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, I think the idea behind those sometimes is, okay, this is how much the box cost, and you just have a running total of how much money you would make if you sell the cards. Is one of the ways that they do it. But by the same token, if I had the disposable income to buy a whole box, I'd probably just buy a pair of headphones or something. The one that I've picked is not a great one, but it's just cooking videos. Like, I think last year I said travel videos. Just slice of life stuff where we can just show off what we can do in real life.
See, the funny thing is we had 2 opportunities to do travel videos this year. We just didn't.
Yeah, we chose not to because we were rather more interested in living in the moment.
It's one of those where, hey, I'm in this place with my buddy. Let's do work.
Yeah, feels like the wrong thing to do, don't it? Plus, we also weren't the only ones there. And the last tangent I've got from this is that I really like Let's Get Down to Business as a format this year. It's not unique in being a themed month, but I could see that thing happening again, and maybe we could do the same thing with DreamWorks.
Ooh, maybe on the DreamWorks, because fuck, I'm not a fan of DreamWorks.
That's fine too.
We'll see. These are all ideas. these are things that, hey, if you're listening to the YouTube version of the show, we actually release every month our planning sessions, and this is the sort of thing we brainstorm there. So head on over to Anchor.
Remember that Road to El Dorado is DreamWorks, so not all of it is Shrek.
No, I know, so's the Prince of Egypt, but, I'm not a big fan. Guess what? Sure, that's 2 films out of 100.
Yep. Well, I think that's about it for this time, so... Well, I think we've even done, essentially, the MVPs and the weakest links and all that just as part of this episode.
I was going to say, Rick, the name of the episode is MVP.
Yeah. So, let's go into our regular ending of, if you like the episode, you got the comment section down below on YouTube, and if you were listening via one of the many audio platforms, you can instead send us an email, which would go to...
Do you want to say that 10 times slower so they know what you said?
Yeah, you got the comment section down below on YouTube, and if you're listening via the audio platforms, you can instead send us the email, which would go to
nonsensereviewuk@gmail.com. Once again, that is nonsensereviewuk@gmail.com.
And if you made it this far, well, hopefully you've made it this far more than once, and that means you're our favourite people. And that's going to be a goodbye from me.
See you in the new year, guys.